Well, hello, and thank you for speaking with us today. We have here with us Dr. Patricia Gandara and Dr. Gary Orfield, who are the co-directors of the Civil Rights Project at UCLA and are partners for this research collaboration about diversity and inclusion in Dallas schools. And for our audience today, could you give us a general overview of what this research project focuses on?
Could you start off, Patricia?
Oh, you want me to start off? Okay. At the Civil Rights Project, of course, we've long been interested in the desegregation of schools and the efforts that some different districts are making in this regard. And it came to our attention that Dallas Independent School District had an interesting program of innovation and what's the name of the other? Innovation and
Transformation.
Transformation and innovation schools, where they were really attracting new audiences into the district. And so we were very interested to see what Dallas was doing and what kind of data we could collect on the effectiveness of these programs, both for increasing opportunities for diverse students and helping to desegregate the schools.
We've also been really interested in the potentials and the problems of gentrification. We've done big studies of it in Washington, D.C. and in New York City. And in both of those cases, there's a lot of middle class, upper middle class people moving into areas where they moved out of a generation ago. And we're interested in what's the potential there for creating diverse schools and involving those newcomers as well as the people already in those neighborhoods and schools that are improving. And so we didn't find much in the way of leadership in those two districts. And we were interested to know that Dallas and San Antonio were actually doing some interesting things.
You both mentioned right now, Dallas, and in that sense, was that finding this interesting thing about Dallas ISD, or was there anything aside from that you found particularly surprising when you did this research, or was there a result that turned out to be different than you had initially expected when you started to do this research?
I think we were pretty open-minded to finding out what was going on. We've seen a little in the newspapers about it, but we wanted to talk to people on the ground and hear from them, and they were very informative. And Dallas is going through was going through an enormous housing boom before the pandemic. And a lot of Californians were moving there, people from other parts of the country. Driving up the housing market, and that meant that people were going to look at older neighborhoods that they might not have looked at before because the prices were going up so fast out in the suburbs, and the construction wasn't keeping up with the demand.
Yeah, though I think the one thing that surprised me a bit is something that we probably should not include in trying to attract, because we had thought that there would be a large effort around desegregation, but it was really more about creating opportunities that could attract a more diverse pool of individuals. So people didn't talk about it in the same way we sort of expected them to talk about it.
I think another thing was that it was a conscious effort by the school district to deal with the fact that it's been losing enrollment. And many central city school districts are dealing with that. So if there is a potential for drawing people in who wouldn't have otherwise gone, it helps deal with the problem of declining enrollment and the declining resources that come as enrollment falls.
Well, okay, there's another thing I might think that was surprising. And Gary may disagree in the sense that he didn't find it that surprising, but I was a little taken aback by the degree to which the people in real estate with whom we spoke didn't seem to be clued in sufficiently to what the opportunities were in DISD. That in fact, in areas where they were selling homes, they didn't seem to realize that they weren't informed enough about the opportunities in the schools that were nearby. And so we certainly saw that as something where there needed to be more emphasis on folks in real estate understanding what the district was doing very successfully, actually.
I've been interested for years in the relationship between housing and schools, and usually school people don't pay much attention to the housing market. And housing market people don't pay much attention to the schools, even though they are intimately related in lots of ways. And a lot of times people are looking for housing, look at the scores of schools and things like that. There needs to be, this is kind of a small effort so far in Dallas. If it's going to get to have a big impact, there needs to be some real serious effort to create better communication between the schools and the realtors, because it's an opportunity for the realtors. It's not a problem. It's an opportunity for them to market housing in more neighborhoods than they had been in the past, and to sell to people with resources to buy and to pay their commission.
One place where we actually saw that happening was at Mata. It was really attracting middle-class parents who really love the Montessori model. And those parents were not as concerned about test scores. Normally, the only thing that the realtors look at is test scores, and then they'll tell you if this school's got high test scores, well, you want to live in this neighborhood with high test scores. But the Mata school was attracting people really because of the program they were offering, even though the test scores weren't fabulous. But I couldn't help but sense the joy in that school. It was just a really joyful place. The kids were all excited about what they were doing and kind of leaping around very happily.
That was a happy school. I think the one that we saw, that Solar Prep, that was a school that had developed a very, very strong market. We saw signs for it around different neighborhoods and so forth, yard signs. Obviously, they've identified and targeted young girls interested in science and so forth in a very powerful way.
But they also were adhering to their initial model very carefully.
Yeah.
So they had laid out certain goals, and they were adhering very carefully to those.
They did not see a conflict between equity and excellence, and neither did the people who are coming there. So it's a very positive thing, both in terms of reusing the school or creating a new schooling opportunity, and in creating a good, strong, diverse community consciously, wanting to create it, wanting to sustain it.
Yeah.
That was what we were hoping to see.
Solar Prep was the most overtly conscious that way about the diversity that it was creating.
No, in that sense, we love hearing all of your input, because precisely your research just highlights all these wonderful areas of opportunity and the things that DISD has been doing right. And we can't wait to present it and have you speak more about it. But just to conclude, so people who want to learn more can read more as soon as the project becomes available. Can you tell us some key takeaways from this project, so that people will want to learn more about something that we have wonderful here in Dallas going on?
Well, I have to tell you that one thing that we were not looking at, but we discovered, and was the diversity in the faculty. I don't know what DISD is doing, but they need to market it because other districts would be really jealous looking at this, at how effective they have been in attracting.
In these particular schools.
Yeah, but even the district as a whole. But these schools that were, they were really modeling diversity in their faculty. And we know from the research that that's an important factor in helping all groups of students to excel when they have teachers who come from their own backgrounds.
I think one of the things that's interesting for me, and after having made these visits, is to tell people who are thinking about these issues, you've got to look at Dallas. They're actually doing something interesting there. And people say, Dallas? And I say, yeah, there were some very interesting leaders in Dallas. They're not transforming the world yet, but they're developing a model that could be important and important for other cities to look at as well. And certainly it is being developed to the next stage right now in San Antonio.
Well, thank you. We really look forward to promoting your research, this upcoming project, and thank you for your time.
Sure. So we should get the final paper